Good day, everybody. I wanted to do a deck profile really that went in depth with a deck that I've been using a lot lately. That's pretty much been tearing apart everybody. I've faced so many different decks, the meta decks, the Cyber Dragon Infinities that's super popular right now, and this deck has just absolutely teared them apart. I think really they just don't see it coming, and one of the biggest things is they start to do the panic mode where they start churning out what they think is the better monster to try and stop me, and they don't realize that it just moves so fast. Um, so this is a zombie Beelze deck, I guess would be the main term for it, because of course you have your zombies and mainly you're bringing out Beelze, as everyone knows is a pain in the butt. If you don't know Beelze, because I know there's a lot of videos that do acronyms or use just one word and think that everyone knows what it is. Beelze, King of, Beelze of the Diabolical Dragons, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro always throwing in the other names. It is a card that cannot be destroyed by battle, card effects. You pretty whenever you take damage involving a card, even if you just like someone uses Magical Cylinder, you actually gain that damage that you would take into your life points to your attack. It's pretty crazy. Um, so just to go over the cards, I'll go over each one and sort of explain the details of it. I'll refrain from using acronyms or calling cards by other names, which I think is silly to do because there's some people who don't know. So Dark Arm Dragon, he is very essential in there because really your graveyard, as you're throwing cards in there, you're bringing them back. So it's very easy to only have 3 dark in there and bring out Dark Armed. I don't see him that often. There's only one of them in there. However, you are milling the deck a lot. You're bringing a lot of cards from your deck to the graveyard, so Dark Arm is still important. You'll run into him. Just I don't really. He's not something I rely on. Really, I find him bait. He's great because you throw him out and everyone starts dropping their traps immediately. They'll do whatever they can to get rid of him because they think that, oh, this is your big bad monster, when really he's absolute. I mean, if you can get off his effect, perfect. But really, he's just cannon fodder. He's just getting things out of the way. Um, so you're gonna need 3 Destiny Hero Maliciouses, um, as it's called, Mali. His effect comes into play a lot. He's a 6-star, but you can banish him from the graveyard to special summon. Sorry, banish one from your deck, special summon him from the graveyard. So essentially, you're gonna throw him to your graveyard, banish one from the deck to bring him out. I put 2 Zombie Masters in here. So Zombie Master, because I put Zombie World in here as well, 2 of those. I will say it's not a bad idea to put a 3rd one in there. I've played around with both, and sometimes I just feel like putting a 3rd in there because I don't see it enough. And if you can get Zombie World out and Zombie Master, then you pretty much, at that point, I can't even see a losing condition unless they take care of that right away. Because you're bringing back everything from the graveyard. And again, it gets crazy, so I can explain that as well. I'll try and go in order as well. So the 3 Mallies, really the 3 that pair with that is Plague Spreader Zombie. You need 3 of him, because his ability is that you can send from your hand 1 card to the top of the deck to special summon him from the graveyard. And that pairs with Mali, and if you see that Beelze is an 8-star tuner, needs a dark tuner, that's Plague. Right there is how you're getting your Beelze. However, I will say that you're not going to be using Plague's effect that much, because when you use his effect, you have to banish him when he leaves the field. So essentially, you're bringing him out and banishing him, which you don't want to do if you don't have to. But emergencies do arise. So the cards that you're going to use to get him into the graveyard is you have 3 Dark Greffers. The Dark Greffers, you can special summon him from your hand by discarding a Dark type monster with 5 stars or more. That's an important move, and I'll explain that in a second as well. But his other effect is that you discard 1 dark to send a dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. So that's another way to get Plague out there. 3 Mizukis. Mizuki is not. He is a zombie. He's an Earth type, which, man, if he was dark, it would be so amazing and broken at the same time. But Mizuki will allow you to banish him from your graveyard to bring a zombie type monster in your graveyard back and special summon him, which is phenomenal if you have Zombie World on the field. So A lot of times I run into bringing out Beelze, and you get the person that throws out Silent Arc, and then of course you destroy Silent Arc when you bring out another Beelze, and then you can use your Mizuki to bring Beelze right back. It's horrible, um, but amazing for you, of course. So the other three you're going to use Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight, when he's summoned, you immediately send one dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. So that's another way to get either Mali, Destiny Air Malicious, or Plague Spreader Zombie to the graveyard, because those are the two main guys you want in there. I have a lot of people, again, I've watched a lot of deck profiles on zombie decks, and really just, this is the most consistent deck I've played, and I've made my own adjustments. Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight, I've seen a lot of people run them at 2. I don't recommend it. You really want them in your hand, because your graveyard is really your deck, essentially. You want to get everything into the graveyard. So having a hand full of Dark Greffers and Armageddon Knights is not a bad thing. Yeah, you may have to wait another turn, but it's very rare you really run into that problem. But you absolutely need them. Another tuner in there. So this is sort of an optional phase here. You can either go with Kochi, which I could just bring him up real fast. Kochi, Blackwing, Kochi the Daybreak. He's a 4-star tuner. So I mean, if you're paying attention to Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight, they're level 4s. Even Mizuki, and he's a dark tuner. So boom, Beelze right there. If they survive the first turn, if you run into a stall deck. That's nice. However, Unizombie is a 3-star Dark Tuner, but his ability, again, just keeps powering you. You can target a card or face that monster on the field, discard one card, and if you do, increase that target's level by 1. So if you have a Mali in your hand, boom, you can send him to the graveyard, get him out of the way. You don't want to send Plague to the graveyard, because you can summon him, so you can use Mali's effect and then just normal summon Plague. That way you don't have to banish him when he leaves the field. However, if you don't have a Mali in your hand, that's where Unizombie's real effect, I just think, is so amazing, because you can do both of these once. You can send any monster, zombie type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Same thing, you're going to increase the level by 1. So you're increasing Unizombie by 1 to make him a 4, sending a zombie type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Mizuki would be the obvious choice, because you need Mizuki in there to keep banishing him instead of having Plague keep getting banished by his own effect. You're banishing him to bring out Plague, essentially. So Zombie World is a good support, but ignore that for now. Ignore that because you don't want to rely on that card. So Mizuki's bringing out Plague, mainly. So, yes, Unizombie. He's going to be a level 4, which then, when you send Mizuki, you can use his ability to do whatever. But realistically, he's nice because if you have an Armageddon or a Dark Grepher, you summon him, you send a Mizuki to the graveyard to make him a level 4, and then the Synchro. But there are some benefits to Kochi, as in he can't be Fiendish Chained to be stopped. If someone knows what you're doing, they can Fiendish Chain Unizombie, and then you're stuck. Unless you have a level 7 tuner, which, actually, I'll talk about that in a second. So that's actually for the monsters. Again, Dark Armed, 3 Mali, 2 Zombie Master, 3 Grepher, 3 Mizuki, 3 Armageddon Knight, 2 Unizombie, 3 Plague, and I almost forgot Necroface. I used to run him at 2. I don't recommend it. Just 1 is all you need, because really he's just good. If you get him at the right time, he's perfect, because he brings back the monsters that were removed from play and shuffles them back into the deck. Essentially, that's used for Mali. If you're playing right the whole duel and not getting crap hands, Plague should not be banished, which means the only people that should be out of play really is Mali. So when you summon Necroface, it puts the Malis back into the deck, which means that one that's stuck in your graveyard, you can now use his free effect of just special summoning again. So that's a really nice card. I also have another card for just in case Plague is in there, which I'll explain. So Regeki, it's one of the dumbest cards out there. I don't know why it's not banned. You should never be able to do something like destroying every monster regardless of position or face up, face down for free. There should always be a cost. They should really bring back Lightning Vortex as the replacement, but of course, until now, we have to deal with everybody putting this in their deck. It's just like Snatch Steal. You know, everyone puts it in because it's just a free card, so they really should do something about that. But 2 reinforcements to the army. Again, you want Armageddon Knights and Dark Grepher. If you argue with me that you only need one, I'll agree. You probably only do. But I put in two because really, why not? You have six level 4 lower warrior type monsters here. So whatever. You have those options. Soul charge. I've run into a lot of times where people stop all my free moves, and it's horrible. So you soul charge. Yeah, you lose your battle phase, but at least you can kind of put up your finger and say screw you, buddy. Foolish burial, no brainer. The whole point is getting everything to the graveyard. So foolish burial is nice because you kind of get to choose, unlike Armageddon and Dark Refer, where you only have one choice really, which is plague. Um, Foolish burial gives you that kind of free movement of who do I need in there, what do I need to do, especially if you have Zombie World and Zombie Master. You can then say, well, now I can throw anybody there and get them back out. Two potted dualities. I used to run three, and sometimes I even only run one because potted duality, you lose your ability to special summon, and it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it really is. So the only time I use pot is when I have no other move. If I cannot special summon, then I will use pot. But I try not to use it too much, but it does save. It saves, sometimes in your first hand, especially. Two MSTs, you want to try and get rid of back row. Uh, Again, that's another argument where you could say, you don't need MSTs. It's better just to draw into your traps, and I will get into that. But yes, that's also true. You really don't need MST. It is what it is. But I put it in there just because sometimes you run into cards that you need to get rid of, and that helps. Burial from a different dimension, very important, because you can select up to 3 remove from play monsters, return them to the graveyard. So that's where Plague. I've run into crap where I drew Burial, and I had Plague in my graveyard, and it's like, well, now I can use his effect and bring out Beelze, have him get banished, and then bring him right back with Burial from a different dimension if I need to. Obviously, I wait in case another Plague ends up going, but still, that's another essential card. 3 Zombie Worlds in this deck. Looks like I did a 3. I didn't see that. Um, I try and draw into that as much as possible because not only does it help this deck, but also it stops your opponents. Neither player can tribute monsters except zombie type monsters when this card's on the field, which means if your opponent does have any kind of cards where they need to tribute, then they can't do it because chances are they're not running a zombie deck. And I'm sorry if I didn't explain Zombie Master. Once per turn, you can send 1 monster card from your hand to the graveyard, then target a level 4 or lower zombie type monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. So that's where Zombie World gets its power. It's making everything on the field and in the graveyards, both sides, zombies. So Zombie Master can essentially summon from your opponent's graveyard. Unless they have something special in there, I wouldn't even bother. Realistically, you're just using it to bring back, Beelze or anything else that happens to fall in the graveyard, if it does. So for the traps, bottomless trap hole, why not? If anything does happen, a lot of times you get out Beelze, and really at that point it's just protecting them from people bringing out their Castels or Silent Arc. I don't understand why anyone uses Castel against Beelze. Like, that's just the dumbest thing. Bringing him back to my extra deck's only helping me because I can just resummon him again and again and again. So normally, if someone's thinking, they're using Silent Arc because, yes, it costs 2 XYZ, but then they get to get another XYZ and protect their monster that's also 100 points stronger. I'll end that rant, though. So Bottomless is good because if they bring out any of that, boom, you can banish it. You don't have to worry about it again. Torrential Tribute. The big reason for Torrential Tribute is because, again, just like Regeki, I think it's broken. Torrential Tribute has a cost because it destroys your monsters as well. However, Beelze, your boss monster, cannot be destroyed by card effects. So when you summon Beelze, you can then use Torrential Tribute to wipe out the rest of the field because he will not get destroyed. So really with your traps, you're trying to just stop anything that could stop your Beelze, because Beelze, there's not much that can stop him. So if you can stop the small amount of power that comes from someone else, you control the duel. I can't tell you how many surrenders I get. It's obnoxious. People never just actually try. Once they see Beelze come out and then I stop their initial move of Silent Arc or Castel, it's like they give up. Trap stun, no brainer. Just, you want to stop traps. Sometimes you don't want to. The reason why I'm running 1 trap stun instead of just like 3 Royal Decrees is because there are times where you want your traps. You may need Torrential or Fiendish Chain, and so trap stun just kind of protects you. So if you bring out Beelze and they're like, well, I'm going to use Compulse, and you're like, well, no, you're not. Trap stun. 2 Fiendish Chains. You can run 3 if you really feel like it, but that's just really another Castell and Arc stopper, which really is. I mean, again, they're monsters that everyone uses because it's 2 level 4s. Which, I mean, you can go to the bathroom, take a pee, and 2 level 4s come out of your body. It's so of course Fiendish or Arcs and Castells are everywhere, so you can just Fiendish Chain that away. Royal Decree, my favorite, because once you have control of the board with Beelze, you put out Royal Decree, boom. It's like they run out of options at that point. Dark Illusion, it's great because again, I will talk all day every day about cards with costs and how every card should have a cost. But what's great is Dark Illusion. Your whole deck is pretty much dark monsters. So negate the activation of a spell trap or affect monster's effect that targets a face-up dark monster and destroy that card. Because it's so specific, it has to be a face-up dark monster. Essentially, it's like a free protection. You can whatever tries to target. So if Silent Art comes out and targets your Beelze, you can then use Dark Illusion and destroy Silent Arc. And I wouldn't be against someone, if you add, get rid of Trapstone, add Dark Illusion, whatever you want to do. That's not a bad move. I'm just showing this because this is the most consistent build I've had so far. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of times where I've needed really Dark Illusion. Honestly, I like using Fiendish Chain on something like Arc as opposed to destroying them. I just find it, I guess, more fun because then I get to just destroy them myself and keep going. Divine Wrath, same thing. It's just anyone that comes out with an effect, you can discard 1 card and negate it, and which normally would be a cost. Like, oh no, I have to discard a card, but not with this, because when you have something like Mali or Mizuki or Plague or really any of these monsters, you just discard them. So, sorry if I went a little too fast, but those are the Magic and Trap cards for this deck. So for the extra deck, which pretty straightforward. Two Leos. I'll get to that. So Beelze, 3 Beelze. That's the most important. That's your boss monster. Again, I've seen so many deck profiles with only 2 Beelze. I'm sorry, if you run 2 Beelze, you're messing up. Because I've gotten into a few duels where it was like a big tug of war battle, and the 3rd Beelze is what kept it alive. You do not want to run 2. You do not. I have this exact deck in real life. I didn't really want to do a video using real cards. I just felt like this is easier. Beelze is necessary. You need 3, no matter what anyone says. So everyone knows what Fiendish Chain is. It's in this deck. What you're going to want to do, for the reason why Leo is here and why I wanted to wait till after I said Beelze. So if you get Fiendish Chained, that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? Because what you do is you bring out Plague, 2-star tuner, use that with Beelze, and you get a Leo. So now Fiendish Chain is just sitting there. The guy feels dumb, and now you have a card that also cannot be targeted by card effects except during your main phase 2, which is a very rare occurrence. You really go into main phase 2 to do anything. So let's see here. Void Ogre Dragon is a good card. It's another 8-star tuner. So there's a lot of times where you're not gonna have cards in your hand because you're gonna have, cards that are just, you're special summoning Dark Grepher by discarding Mali and then discarding 1 card to discard another card, and you're just destroying, absolutely destroying your deck, or sorry, your hand. So with Void Ogre, whenever you don't have any cards in your hand, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. Well, sorry, once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap while you have no cards in your hand, you can negate the activation. So they can, but you can negate it once per turn. So that's a nice card to have because most of the time you don't have monsters in your hand, or you have nothing in your hand. I'm sorry. Second boss monster, the number dose, is Scrap Dragon. So Scrap Dragon, 8-star tuner. Normally, if you have a good amount of control over the board, like you don't see 18 cards on the back row of your opponent, you're going to bring out Beelze first, then Scrap. And the reason why is Scrap can select 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls and destroy them both. Sounds not very beneficial at first. However, if you target Beelze, he cannot be destroyed. So with Scrap Dragon, it doesn't say that you have to destroy your card first and then theirs. It just says you destroy them both. Well, because Beelze can't be destroyed by card effects, you get a free card on your opponent's side of the field destroyed. You choose Beelze, then you choose one of their cards. Bada bing. Their card is gone, yours is not. So that's another thing. The downside, of course, is Scrap has no way of protecting himself. That's where your traps come in effect. But even if he gets destroyed, whatever. It's again, your chances are you're destroying something before he goes. Powered in Zectron, very important. In fact, I need to update something. I need to add a Goyo. I'm sorry. Look at this. Not prepared at all. I only do one Void Ogre. Sorry. And Goyo, but it's a good chance for me to explain why. So you want 6-star synchros. I have 3 of them. Reason being is you will find yourself in a situation where you have maybe Dark Grepher on the field and a Plague Spreader in your graveyard, but you're kind of in a bad situation. You need something. So that's where you go into one of these guys. So you have Goyo Guardian, where anytime he destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you get to special summon it to your side of the field. That's a crucial ability right there. If you can, 2800 attack is pretty good. So if you can destroy something that your opponent has, especially one that has like an in graveyard effect, it actually gets stopped by Goyo Guardian because it gets special summoned to your side before it activates. Powered in Zectron is really nice for when your opponent has a scary looking back row because he cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. So if Powered in Zectron gets summoned, basically they can't do anything about it other than a compulse. You know, something that's going to not destroy it but take it away. And then you also have Beast God Vulcan, or sorry, Vulcan the Divine. I have him in real life and I'm already messing up his name. He's basically a way to get rid of a monster that's giving you a hard time. So something on the opponent's side of the field that's getting in the way. Because when he's synchro summoned, you target one face-up card on each side of the field and return it to the hand. So you choose their monster, and then you can even choose Vulcan himself. But if you have something else like a Royal Decree, beautiful, because you can bring that back to your hand and then just set it right again. He's kind of weak though, but of course that's the cost of having such a good ability. The reason you want these 6-star synchros, other than the fact that like Goyo and Vulcan the Divine have good effects, is that again, if you run in, so let's say you have Mizuki and Plague in the graveyard, you know, and you have a 4-star on the field, and you're running out of options, you can Mizuki Plague and then make a 6-star, and then use Plague's effect to come back out to then make another Beelze. So 6-star synchros, and then you have your tuners. So that is why I will say that. Also, you can bring out Unizombie. Again, emergencies options. Unizombie, make him a 4-star by using his effect to discard something else in the graveyard to help you, and then you can even bring out a Leo. So that is why you definitely want these guys in there. And if you have another idea for a 6-star, go ahead. This is where it's kind of loose with the deck. When I say that I found something very consistent, not every single card needs to be the same for that consistency. Really, just this deck build has been helping me a lot. Then I only do a few XYZs. Of course, Silent Arc. I'm not a fan of Castell. Hate me for it, but I just think that Silent Arc is a way better Castell. I understand that there's benefits sometimes to sending a card back to the hand. You know, mainly the extra deck in most cases, as opposed to Silent Arc, who also has to, the card has to be in attack mode and special summoned, and there's so many conditions. But there's rarely ever a time you need to take care of something unless it's something in attack mode, and normally special summoned. Especially if you have Zombie World on the field, chances are they didn't tribute summon a monster that's giving Beelze a hard time. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, obvious reasons, but of course I'll explain because I hate videos that just say, oh, obvious, use Evil Swarm, blah blah. But once you summon him, if you have less cards on your side of the field in your hand than your opponent, then immediately when he is summoned, you can destroy all the cards on the field. It's once per chain, so technically, even if you summon him and they try and bottomless it, you can then chain it after that, really. But the main benefit is that, or the broken aspect of it, I guess, is that when he's summoned, that counts as a chain and you can use it and blah 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 blah. And then 2 Lovelable Chains, or however you want to pronounce that odd name. Really for his first effect. So a lot of times, normally in a good hand, if you can get like Dark Grepher and Mali in your hand, your chances are you'll have another level 4, like Mizuki or Armageddon Knight. So what you'll do is you'll use Dark Grepher's ability to throw Mali to the graveyard, which is beneficial, to bring out Dark Grepher for free. And then if you have Mizuki, it's even better, because you can normal summon Mizuki or normal summon Armageddon Knight, which then use his effect to send more cards to the graveyard. And then XYZ into Lava Wool, and then discard one of the XYZ materials to then send another card from your deck to the graveyard, which in most cases will be Mizuki. And I will say, if you use Mizuki as an XYZ material, be smart and discard him first, because now you're getting a free way of another Mizuki into the graveyard. Um, so yeah, that is the deck profile so far that I've built. That again, I've had no issues with. Just every time that someone tries and stop this, I just bring out another Beelze, and it's really funny too. You know, I laugh the whole time when people do all they can to stop it. And of course you're gonna lose. You know, it's a game. You're never gonna win 100% of the time. But I'm telling you right now, if you build this deck right now, I don't. As long as you're playing it right, which of course is gonna take time. I could sit here for an hour explaining how to do this. But that's not gonna help you get better. Um, so yeah, if you have any advice on it, feel free to shoot. I'm not here to say this is the best build ever at all, but I will tell you that it's pretty darn good. So again, if you have any recommendations, go ahead. This is my first video. I plan on doing more, but obviously I just wanted to shoot out there and see what people thought of it. All right, well, thanks for watching.